Hello everybody and welcome to Aspire 2017 Stage 3, the premier beat mapping contest for all things OSCAT. I'm Ephemeral, the mostly host of this contest over the past few years. I'm a poor, misguided soul who decided to light a fire under the convention of beat mapping contest way back in 2014 and sort of accidentally made it one of the largest affairs in the mapping community. Oops. Sorry, didn't realize I actually hadn't turned the fucking thing down yet. You may have been wondering, did you just say Aspire 2017? Is it a year late? Well, I guess you're not entirely wrong. It is pretty close to half a year late, with the contest opening roughly 4 months ago. We're pretty late. Fashionably late, I'd like to say, as we hope to show you in the coming hour or so. If you're not familiar with what Aspire is, or, you know, even OSCatch for that matter, and even if you are, we'd like to, you know, get you right up onto speed before we dive into things. Aspire is a beat mapping contest where the only rule is that there is no rules. There's a few basic things to keep one sane, but the general idea and theme of the contest is that you can do pretty much anything, and, you know, I mean just about anything, to give your entry the edge over the others. We've historically seen some of the game's most technically impressive, and also technically unplayable, maps arise from the contest, from its many, many iterations, since it first began back in 2014. But for Aspire Stage 3, we're focusing purely on one of the smaller game modes. Certainly not the smallest, that goes to Taiko, which we had a couple of months ago. But yeah, this time we're all about OSCatch. And OSCatch is fundamentally itself very, very simple. Fruit falls from the sky in patterns and you catch it with a platter. Seems easy, right? Wrong. Deceptively simple to start, but absurdly difficult to master. OSCatch has consistently proven itself as one of the most highly competitive game modes present in the OS community, with spectacles like the OSCatch World Cup drawing thousands of people to watch unimaginably close matches between some of the world's best players. And with that convenient little fact, allow me to introduce to you our most esteemed panelists for the evening, who you can already see on screen, because I didn't factor this in when writing the script, because I wrote it literally an hour ago. An elite mapper in his own right, and one of the highest ranked mappers in the OSCatch community in terms of his overall number of ranked difficulties, prominent tournament player, and map selector, we are joined first off with none other than Ascendant. Ascendant, say hello! That was way better than I thought it would be. Whew. Okay, alongside him, we have an extremely long time and active player of OSCatch who's arguably been present for just about every major mapping meta. He's an exceptional hidden player in his own right, a many-time OSCatch World Cup commentator and current loved captain for the OSCatch mode, Zach. He likes fruit catch. Do you like anything other than fruit catch? Good, that's what I wanted to hear. With him, we also have one of the most recently active names and faces in the OSCatch community, a long-term tournament host for countless events in the community, a co-host, helper, and player extraordinaire, a man so prominent in his work that he's been in the OS Coffee Hour, very recently actually, a couple of weeks ago. It is none other than Satan himself.
I don't think they can hear us.
No, they can't.
I think.
Oh shit, I just chucked a World Cup. Alright, dial it back. Professional stream here. Professional stream. Okay. Alright, so we have Ascendant. Ascendant, say hello again so I don't actually hear you this time.
No, I had some great scripted entry about how, like, I love drama and I love fruits, but I guess here I am. I love OSCatch, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Looking forward to it, though. Great entries all around.
Superb.
Love it.
Okay, Zach, say your thing, do your bit.
I got some great contrast. I love fruit catch.
There you go, he said he loves fruit catch. That's why I said, oh my god, okay. Alright, never mind, it didn't happen. We're all good. Satan, say your thing again.
Okay, in short, I'm attorney host for Catch, and for some reason I'm here to judge maps as well, even though I'm not too into the mapping scene. But yeah, I'll mostly be talking from a player perspective here. And yeah, most of you probably know me from stuff like AXS, that kind of stuff. But yeah, thanks for having me anyway.
Great to have you all here. But we're not done yet, there's more people. You can see we've only covered 3 names and there's like 6 of them up there or something. Anyway, putting those heinously old people aside, we're joined from a newer face in the community actually. He first began in OS as a standard player, but he quickly picked up OS catch mapping and modding to the point that he was able to become a beat map nominator. He's fresh, he's new, and he's pretty much built for judging beat map contests. It's Nokashi. Say hello.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Thanks for having me. First of all, I have the least interesting bio out of everyone else, but I feel honored to be part of this contest, and I think that you also, along with me, are gonna like the entries we're having today. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
See, look at this. My panelists are more professional than I am. This is great. I'm not gonna have to do anything anymore. Now that you're actually, you know, not muted and the stream can hear you. That's a real good thing, that. Anyway. We have one more. He has been so instrumental in making this contest happen, and I really can't state this enough. For the longest time, this contest was in limbo. It just wasn't happening. Things were coming up, all sorts of stuff. If he hadn't have done what he's done, we wouldn't be sitting here today, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And he really, really knows his shit when it comes to OS Catch. Like, you might have heard of him before. He's been on the OS Coffee Hour about 3 times now with Happy Stick. He's one of the quality assurance team leaders, and he is indisputably, undeniably, the one, the only, is JB Hyperion. Say hello.
Hello everyone, good to see you all again through tournaments and coffee hours and everything alike. So, Aspire, eh? Yeah, decided to pick it up towards the end of last year when Ephemeral said it's not going to happen unless somebody does something, and I thought, hey, I could be that person. And here we are, picked songs, rounded up all these judges who are going to be taking us through the wonderful entries and have cast their judgment upon them. So I'm looking forward to see how they respond to the maps and the song that was picked, and how all of you guys in chat feel about them as well. So yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a real pleasure. Really can't say. He really did pretty much make this contest happen. Big deal. But that's not all. We have a special Aspire first thing here. In all of the years we've ever held this contest, we never did this one particular thing until now. For reasons that I do not truly understand, which is probably why it didn't happen. I think I might be stupid. We have a special treat. For the first time, we have an actual human being playing the entries in the showcase. Not live. Not live, no, because I don't think anyone can play these the first time round and not, you know, want to rip their head off. Because it's an Aspire map. They're not meant to be playable. Playing is secondary. Looks and gimpy stuff and excellence is the first bit. Right. We enlisted one of the best of the best. One of the best players OS Catch has ever seen. And now that might be debatable for some of you here, because I know there's some real big wigs from that community watching this at the moment. Sitting down here going, who could this possibly be? A top 10? You know? Who's it going to be? No, he's top 50. He's widely renowned for his absurd talent with the hidden mod. He's a long-term tournament player who's been in just about every OS Catch World Cup we've ever had, since the event started over 5 years ago. But beyond that, he's also a mapper, a highly accomplished one at that, and he's also an accomplished modder and a member of the Beatmap Nominators. Unfortunately though, he won't be joining us for the stream feature tonight, but he is incredible, and he can only be Alien Flybot. Now cheer awkwardly. You read the script.
Woo! AFB! 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 AFB!
Hey guys, it's me, Alien Flybot.
Oh my god.
But yeah, having an actual player playing is way better than having the auto mod.
Oh yeah, because Automod is just...
The experience.
Automod
Oh
is...
yeah, considering Automod can catch things no player humanly can, not even the great X-Gun, I think it's much better to appropriate the level that these maps have reached this time around.
Yeah, and your PC would also probably crash when the auto is trying to catch all the bananas, so yeah, lucky on you.
Yeah. No, I encountered enough problems with that trying to record these videos. Goodness gracious. Some of them are just nuts. I think we did actually try to do auto at the start, and then I think JB had the amazing idea of having AFB play the map, if memory serves.
Yeah, auto decides to tap dash everything and spam the dash key faster than humanly possible, so it just didn't look realistic or like representative of how the Aspire maps I think they should have been played. So I thought if we can get human in to kind of show off and show how they're meant to be played, then that would be both more kind of interesting and also more representative of what Aspire truly was. Because although, as you said, it's an art form as well as like mapping, you do have to have both of those aspects. Something that looks beautiful but is totally unplayable is not going to be as good as something that ticks both boxes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They kind of have to, it has to like skirt the fringe of both categories. It's really hard to do, honestly. We've only had a few entries that have really, well, all the winning entries have kind of got there for the other game modes, but even then it's a little bit debatable on how playable some of them are. I think the most playable one we've ever had was Charles's first one. Very first Aspire, I think, with Evanescent, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first real Aspire, and they all kind of got progressively crazy from there. Anyway, we'll slog on with this intro and get right into the thick of things. These Fantastic Five will be walking you through the coming entries we've prepared, and Alien Flybot will be here in spirit with us in replay form, suffering through all of their glory and all of their questionable, boy are some of them questionable, design choices. This is by far and above one of the most talented panels we've ever had, comparatively speaking, so I am really confident that this will go spectacularly, especially now that you can all hear them. We've got 10 hours to cover in the next 10 hours. Well, we've got 10 entries to cover in the next 2 hours or so, and the voting will open exactly right now. They're open right now. I mean, you could literally go vote. You can type in !vote in the thing, and you can go watch the thing yourself. But don't do that. Watch the stream feature. Do you know how much time I spent on this?
Yeah.
Do you know how much time we have spent pouring our heart and soul into this? Watch it. I'm pressuring you into watching it, so watch it. Anyway, let's get cracking. First up, we have the entry mysteriously known only as Dictatorial J. And before you think that's a weird-ass entry name, it is, because they're randomized, so you don't know who actually made the entry. If you do know who made the entries, don't say it in chat. Every year we have people go, I know who made this, in chat, and it's not the... Just watch. Watch and appreciate with your eyes. Don't try and make it a game of who guessed the who and the... Oh, whatever, okay. Alright, you judges all ready to go ahead with Dictatorial J? You got it all loaded up? All good?
Let's rock and roll.
I was born ready for this moment.
Alright, yeah, let's get into this then.
Woo.
Oh god. No.
Alright, we're going in 3, 2, 1. Feel free to talk over it, by the way. Like, you don't have to be silent for the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, for me, this entry was actually pretty unique in the fact that the flashing catcher was something that we actually didn't see at all for any of the other entries. And that got a lot of creativity from me, personally. But the big thing for me with this entry was that the flow wasn't exactly the best. As you can probably see, Alien Flybot is kind of struggling on hitting some of the patterns, and the hypers are a bit weird, but as Ephemeral said, it's mostly about art, and so this one definitely gets some creativity points for sure.
One of my favorite parts regarding this map, I think it's about 10 seconds from now, like a droplet curtain. Really, really nice. You're gonna see it in a screen shortly, probably. But the way it handled, it got me thinking where the slider actually started, trying to see how he actually made that pattern. Other than that, it had a pretty interesting flow to it, being not that ideal at times, as Senden said, but overall, it was quite an interesting entry to play through and judge through.
Yeah, I mean, this was like not a bad Aspire entry in my opinion. It wasn't quite perfect. I did like some parts of the map quite a lot, like these slides.
There's a curtain.
Yeah, the curtain. This one. This one is pretty funny actually. This really shows you what Aspire for Catch is all about. But there's other parts that are more mute in my opinion as well, and not quite as original or more of a copy pasta than I would have wanted as well. So in that regard, it's not bad by any means, but it's rather just maybe a little bit below some of the other entries interest rate wise. So yeah, that's more of my opinion on that.
Ooh, Hyperwolf.
Yeah, one thing I actually wanted to point out about this is that, like, we've seen the hyperwalks a lot throughout even non-Aspire maps, so for me this was more of like, oh well, we've already seen this before.
I didn't too much mind the hyperwalks itself, but the way they were made just did not feel friendly at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say they feel pretty out of place as well for me. Like, the song doesn't necessarily fit it, and although I appreciate like the effort that went into them, I don't think it was exactly the best place to do it.
I also love the catcher bugging out there for a few seconds. That is amazing.
Yeah, the most interesting part is that, as Descendant said, the whole Ki, like taking advantage of the Ki to make the catcher transparent.
Yeah, that's intentional. I think a lot of people maybe have been a bit confused about that in the chat, but the catcher flashing at the bottom, going periodically invisible, that's fully intentional. That was skinned in, I believe.
Yeah, the catcher has 3 default sprites for idle animations. Fail when you miss a note, it does like a kind of I missed a note animation, and then it has one for Ki as well, where it's like energetic supercharged. And if you skin the Ki version of the catcher to be invisible, so just a transparent file, then whenever you initiate Ki time, the catcher will disappear. So I think what they did there is flash the Ki on and off repeatedly to give it that emotion of kind of appearing and then disappearing and reappearing over and over again.
So yeah, anyone else have much to say about that? And like, what do you think of it overall?
Overall, it's one of the better entries, not the best entry, but it had that playful tone, the way he introduced the gimmicks. I mean, the highlights for me were the Ki's and the droplet curtain and some droplet hypers, like hyper within a slider. That was an idea a lot of entries took advantage of. But overall, yeah, it wasn't the most impressive to my eyes, but it really was a solid entry to the Aspire. Truly, an entry worthy of the Aspire contest.
It's definitely something worth building up upon for 2018, perhaps. So to the one who entered this map into the contest, big thank you. It was definitely fun. But again, there's better maps incoming, in my opinion, at least. So this, for me, is not going to be a winner by any means. But again, very worthy of being a considerable Aspire entry. So good job.
I thought the gimmicks were pretty neat, and the disappearing catcher was actually something I've never actually seen before, but everything else just didn't really scream out to me as unique, which kind of just brought things down a little bit.
Yeah, as I said before, the creativity, it definitely had some strong points, but the playability aspect of the map was a bit too much to ignore. Like, I know we're supposed to view it as more of an art piece, but when the map is kind of frustrating to play, it kind of detracts from that experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we all agreed that there were some really nice techniques and kind of various implementations used, but the way in which they were used and the way in which they all kind of tied together to form one coherent difficulty could probably have been improved slightly. But yeah, this, as people have said, it was a very solid entry. It did fit the kind of the Aspire moniker of what you were looking for in something that, hey, there are no rules, you can do whatever you want. But yeah, some places to work on, but also a pretty good place to start.
Good stuff. Everyone about done with that? You reckon we can move on to the next one, which is Downcast Owl?
For sure.
You all ready?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty then, we'll move on in 3, 2, 1.
To get the hype up, you know?
It's probably working. I'm guessing it's working, right?
I don't know about you, but I'm hyped.
I'm feeling it really well now.
Well,
I felt bad for Aiden Flyball when I saw him playing through this, because it's so straining to the player. The patterns at some point just get out of control.
yeah, the lack of new combos and the frustrating edge dashes did not really help this entry much.
I imagine it's going to be fun on your CPU as well.
Yeah.
I was
The,
recording this if I'm wrong. This one.
You were what?
No comment even. I was recording this one actually with the.
Oh, this one. Yeah, no, this one drove me nuts. I had to record this like 6 times. It drove me absolutely nuts.
Oh, this part I always feel it for AFB. Those one
Yeah.
force.
It's different. You could say it's like different compared to the other entries as well. It's way harder as well at that. The AR10 and I think it was CS7 or something along those lines.
This
Five,
looks
five.
CS5.
I am very, I'm very good at guessing CS.
Yes,
right?
CS5
I'm very good
expert.
But yeah, again, mapping is not really my strong point, but it was kind of unplayable at times as well. And I do commend the mapper for the entire wanting to try out new stuff thing. But to me, it didn't quite click, honestly. It just felt overmapped at times. The entire node stacking could be interesting to use once in a map, but it gets annoying after the 3rd time as well. So, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this, but perhaps the style could work. You saw that there?
Yeah.
1/8? That was ridiculous as well. That kind of stuff. I mean, perhaps a little bit of fine-tuning is needed to make this a little bit more playable, and then it could be more interesting compared to the other maps, but for now, I'm not really too big of a fan of it myself.
Yeah, there was definitely an attempt at making like some 2B stuff, but the map was overall pretty unplayable for, I think, all of us actually. I don't think any of us could possibly pass this map. And yeah, it didn't really feel like structured at all, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at here.
As a matter of fact, the fact that I had 0 combos, sometimes when I was playing through it at least, trying to read the pattern I was really having a hard time doing that, because I couldn't see half my screen. And
I
the
had a few new
CS helped with it.
combos between spinners, but just almost nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I already said, I mean, it gets annoying after a while, and I mean, maybe it's not something you should be considering as an Aspire judge, the annoyance from a map, but
Yes.
we do. We do consider it, really. Even for Aspire, I don't think that's a very good thing to do, but again, that is more subjective, really. But at the same time, I don't think anybody really enjoyed playing this map through. I don't think Alien Flybot had a fun time doing it either. So in that regard, it kind of falls flat down on its face, but yeah. Again, it's a different concept. He tried his best, and perhaps this year is going to be better if the person who introduced this is going to try and submit something new again. Let's give him some.
Yeah, I mean, you can only go up from here.
I mean, you can see the Aspire spirit in it a little bit. Like, they really tried to push the boundaries there, but I think there's this sort of window you have to get towards where it's not completely absurd. It's kind of mostly absurd. I don't know, a lot of entries I've noticed have trouble straddling that window.
Yeah, the thing is, what defines a good entry for me is something that's absurd, but also, you know, makes me want to replay the map. For me, when I played that map, it was just, like, I wasn't even sure what I was following in terms of the difficulty, so, I don't know. It was a good attempt, and I saw the attempt to make some cool 2B patterns and interesting back and forths, but it just wasn't to be for me.
Yeah, people have kind of ragged on the new combos blocking up the whole screen a few times. I think if that was done in a more kind of moderated way, like not quite so extreme as to have like 5,000 things on the play at once, then that could be quite an interesting thing that could be taken somewhere in the future in a way that's interesting but not annoying. But that, along with most of the other concepts that we used in this diff, were just dialed up to 11 and then even further past that. It was just kind of total overkill, really. So even though some of the ideas were nice and it was a kind of there were some good attempts there, the execution was not great.
Fair enough. That
Do you
seems,
agree?
that seems pretty unanimous from all the panelists so far. I mean, doesn't seem to be anyone that disagrees really.
No, but that doesn't mean the mapper should lose hope in not like having this as an opportunity not to apply for next Aspire. You should take this as an opportunity to apply for next Aspire and try your hardest and try to improve on what you did this year. And maybe you're gonna be more lucky and more receptive to the judges next year. So don't
yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
Motivational speeches on Aspire.
Yeah, woo!
It's the kindest Aspire so far. I know Monstrata and Mango Miser were not particularly inspiring with their takedowns of stuff they didn't. But
You're calling us friendly, and then you look at her name and it's like, oh,
yeah,
something's wrong.
just a little
What are we
bit.
trying to say here? We've got the nicest lineup.
Ends with sentence. I don't know.
Ooh. I was just about to say we have the nicest lineup of people here. I can't imagine what you're getting at.
The
Yeah,
absolute.
I mean, this kind of feedback is probably better for most mappers because, again, the entry list wasn't too large either. There weren't like too many entries, and we want people to actually, you know, try it out for once. So we don't want to like scare them away with any mean comments and being like any bad behavior in that regard. So yeah. I mean, we would like to criticize your maps, but we don't want to like shit on you literally. So there you go.
Yeah, just take it with a grain of, you know, everyone in this panel knows that this map is made by a person, right? So, like, they're never not gonna, like, pull punches. I'm not asking them to pull punches. In fact, I expressly said before we started this to them that, you know, they can feel free to criticize and whatnot. And it's, like, it's okay to, like, call out stuff you don't like about maps in Aspire and whatnot. It's perfectly fine. It's part of the contest, really. Like, you're not gonna make you're not gonna make something that appeals to everyone who's watching. It's kind of the draw with this sort of stuff. But, you know, it's important that people put forward an effort, and it's one thing when we almost didn't have enough entries to really make this contest happen, partly because of how difficult CTB mapping is, because of the editor not being very good. It doesn't have a very large mapping community, I believe. Am I right on that?
I mean, there's a lot of people attempting, but it's, again, really difficult due to the editor as well. We talked about that in Coffee Hour. If you want like more details on that, it's like on OC Live as well.
Oh, good plug.
probably-
Good plug,
probably have a
dude.
larger
Like a
mapping
I call
community
it a
than-
learning curve for the editor.
Yeah, that's what causes a lot of people to struggle coming into catch mapping. I think our mapping community is probably a little larger than Tycho's, but yeah, still kind of very small compared to standard.
Yeah, it's very easy to open it up and throw stuff around, but it takes a lot of work to actually make a cohesive map.
I can say with certainty, having seen the laser designs for the CTB editor, that it does actually have its own editor. That's a thing. I promise you, it will.
Praise!
Zach can make his Halloween maps greater.
Oh my god!
Mania web.
No! Why would you do this to me?
Spoopy skeletons.
Oh boy, it's already big.
Perhaps Zach is going to have an entry in Inspire as well. Who knows? That would be funny.
Alright, I guess we should probably move on to the next. The next one up is Panicky Armadillo. Judges, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Alrighty, we'll be going in 3, 2, 1.
Panicky Armadillo. So yeah, about this map, what I really liked from this, you can't obviously quite see it now as it only just started playing, but it has a lot of variety in its patterns up to a certain point. It keeps on changing patterns and building up on already existing patterns that it used. So in that regard, it's really interesting. Honestly, it kept me interested in the map until like, I don't know, 2 minutes in or so. But flow and structure were really good on this one. The only thing I kind of disliked about this are some of the dense note stacks, which you don't quite see yet. The bananas are pretty interesting as well, as you just saw. The stacking on those is done very well as well. Not just having a random ass spinner thrown in there, but actually having a little bit of structure with those as well. And obviously towards the end, as I already said, it did have a lot of variation of patterns, but I kind of dropped towards the end. So perhaps if the mapper had taken a little bit of extra time into investing into this map with a few more patterns, that would have made it like the perfect entry. But this one is really good regardless, and a very commendable Aspire entry again.
Yeah, I was just about to say that this is like the first entry that we've seen so far that has structure to it. Like you can tell that the mapper knows what they're doing, and it has replay value, and it's something that we didn't really get a lot of in the last entries. But I have to agree with Sarton that near the end, it felt like the mapper did run out of ideas. But at the very least, it was a really good entry, and it showed a lot of creativity for sure.
I'm gonna build up on what the others said, and I firmly believe that the mapper handled the gimmicks he wanted to introduce quite well. Even if the variety wasn't that apparent, the ones that were introduced were really nicely handled, and I really liked playing through them. I didn't have any discomfort or something really bothered me while playing, so the value was still there, and the structure was spot on for me. So it is one of my favorite entries, and yeah, I really liked judging it, playing through it, and all that.
I liked how it was doing double notes because it's a fun little thing to do in a lot of maps. I just didn't really like how that was pretty much the only gimmick it relied on throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, as I said, it was repeated quite a bit towards the end, those stacked double notes, so that made it a little bit less interesting and more like, okay, let's just finish it by now. But again, it was interesting to kick off with at the very least, so that is a good point.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't bad.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd actually rank it within the top entries that we got, to be honest.
Yeah, while some of the previous entries that we've seen have focused quite heavily on, you know, being like batshit insane, really difficult, throwing in tons of patterns, this one was more tame in terms of playability. But what it did really cleanly, and it was fun to play. And as people have said, it was something that I would play quite a number of times because I did enjoy playing it. That being said, yeah, it probably could have done with a little more variety. There were some kind of sliders inside, spinners. There was a nice bit in the middle where it had like a huge BPM increase, and lots of juice drops were formed in the middle of sliders, giving a nice little curtain. But that was only really done the once, so it did rely heavily on the double notes, the 2B stuff, for its gimmick. And by the end, it did, I wouldn't say it felt stale, but you're still just wanting that little bit more, and unfortunately that map didn't really deliver that. What it did deliver was really clean, was really fun, and well executed, but it just needed like a little extra zing, a little extra spark to really push it further.
That's still, even without that, it still was one of my favorite entries per se. Yeah, I'm gonna build up on what you said, on that it was really clean, in the sense that everything that was presented was so nicely handled.
Yeah,
It
something
was
actually
enjoyable,
to
yeah.
something actually to note was the that JBH pointed out was the use of the BPM changes that we saw used really well there. I actually forgot to say it, but sometimes we see it in a lot of these Aspire entries not used really well, like more for just putting more notes into a stack, but this one actually achieved some pretty nice aesthetic with the curves, and yeah, like you said, it probably needed just a little more push to move it to the top, but overall, really sweet entry.
Big thumbs up from us. Hey.
Yes.
So pretty much the first positive, really, reception so far, I'd say.
I mean, we're positive all the time, right? But as in a review, yeah, this is something we would give a good mark, definitely.
Yes.
Especially if you were to like cut the map at the 2-minute mark, where the pattern got a little bit repetitive, that would have been really, really good as well. That would have been like top 3 entry, perhaps. So in that regard, it had some very juicy stuff in it. Just wasn't quite enough to fulfill us and satiate us with everything that I had to offer in the 3-minute time period of the song is. So yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't super amazing, but it was pretty good. You can say it like that, probably.
Yeah, we're still agree on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. Alright, I'd say we're ready to move on to the next entry of Rancorous Crocodile.
Why did you do that?
You actually did that.
It's the law.
It gives some
exactly.
nice touch.
I have
Can't
to
blame
admit
that.
Rancorous Crocodile.
Crocodile. Okay, yeah. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
We are fully ready, yep.
Alright, we're moving on in 3, 2, 1.
This entry.
Well, you're saying this entry, so perhaps you want to kick off there? Or
Yeah, I was about to say, that doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
sure.
It's chasing the memories.
Ooh.
Like,
So,
reminiscing
about
of
this
a
entry,
wonderful time I
fun fact,
had.
this was the first entry that I got my hands on when I was doing the judging, and I really expected more. I really, like, it left me kind of stranded. I was, like, waiting for something, more Aspire click to it, but in the reality, to me, it mostly plays like a normal map would. Not that necessarily a bad thing, like, as a normal map, the flow is there, the structure is there, but it didn't have the Aspire click, the click we're looking for in this contest, at least for me.
yeah, I'm fully agreeing with Nokashi in that regard. This feels like something JBH could rank after some talking around, really. Didn't really have that much of an Aspire aspect to it, and that made it really plain to me due to the very little use of creative patterns, which honestly wasn't quite too interesting. Some reverse sliders were used, which was not too great for the flow of the map either, honestly. The flow isn't too bad, but it's not really great either. As you can see, it's kind of jittery at points. But at least it tried to correspond well with the music, and in that regard it did succeed proper. But it didn't really strike me as something all too interesting for Aspire, so again, maybe some more out-of-the-box patterns would have helped this entry a lot. But for now, it's just a little bit too plain for me to give this like a really good rating. It's not a bad map though, again. It's something you could perhaps even rank, really, if there's anything that is unrankable in it, then, well, no, but as I'm looking at the map, not really too much super out-of-the-box things, so yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
an
but
Aspire map. It should be horrifying.
Yep. That is indeed my main criticism. It's just not too interesting in that regard. It's really plain.
At the very least, I would rather see the entries that like go too overboard than ones that are too safe. You know, this feels like one that if you put it into like an NPC or something, it'd get a higher grade than for Aspire.
Yeah, I get what you mean there. It's too safe!
Definitely.
Too safe!
It really was too tame.
Come on, we want unplayable here, people.
No,
And some actual
Despite the
gimmicks.
fact that like 2 maps ago you were going, oh, this is unplayable. It
So it goes.
decide.
It's too playable.
Yeah, this one's too playable.
Yeah, there's some kind of interesting flow variations and some strange patterns that you maybe wouldn't see in a lot of normal kind of currently in the meta ranked maps, but as people have said, some of this stuff is not unrankable. It could get ranked if people were willing to put effort through the kind of mapping and modding process to do so. So it really was missing a bit of pizzazz. Nothing really unrankable striking out
Lovely.
going, haven't seen that before, or didn't know you could do that, or that was done in a cool different way.
Yeah, the ranking criteria is definitely something you want to avoid while doing Aspire, so that is unfortunate with this map at least.
I think the trick is to have the ranking criteria next to you and go, here are all the rules, how can
Let's
I break
break 'em."
these?
Seemed like the mapper was too scared to go overboard, thinking that it would turn out as a mess. That at least what was I presumed on while judging it. Like the mapper tried to implement a gimmick at some point, but ended up not doing it, resulting in something that's having a personality disorder in a sense that if it's Aspire or not. That mapper should be more brave when they try to tackle such a contest.
Yeah, pretty agreeable. I think that's everyone's general consensus about this map, unless Zach had something to say about it.
+1.
I didn't have very much to say. I've already kind of made my point.
I think we can roll on then.
Sounds good to me. Alright, next entry is Shaky Coyote. Is everyone ready?
Ooh. Yes.
I'm shaking. That was not funny.
No, it wasn't. All
You
good?
got me
Can't,
shaking.
can't I be comforting for one? I
Aww.
hope you.
He's just trying to be a
Fine.
nice guy, and you crushed his mapper spirit.
Oh man, that was not intentional. No, I love you, man. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
I see you as a better method than Ascendance. How's that?
Oh,
I don't even map. That's.
Oh,
look, look.
Hey,
It ain't Spicy Coyote, it's Shaky Coyote. Let's move on.
guys, you told me not to be toxic, and you're flaming me.
Just laying into the poor guy.
It's all about getting pump and rank.
Alright, let's move on. Alright, it's moving on in 3, 2, 1. Hey, you talking?
Yeah, I was
just about,
looking at my notes real quick. Sorry, my bad.
Scripted.
Whenever a map starts, everyone's like, "Should I begin?" And the same thing is on everyone's minds. So in the end, no one talks.
Yeah,
And then
I have a
everyone
little
talks
bit
at
of,
the same time.
you know, the public can take it in as well, right? But yeah, I'd rather actually not go first here because my opinion is quite different on this map compared to like the other judges, as far as I know. So perhaps somebody else could take over.
well, for me, this was pretty tame actually for an Aspire entry in my eyes. Like, I put in my notes that it was pretty borderline between rankable map and Aspire entry. Like, the map was very structured and clean and has replay value and definitely some cool concepts, but there was nothing crazy or above like excellence that stood out to me particularly. The aesthetic was nice and all that, but I just wasn't completely impressed by something new.
Actually, my opinion isn't quite as different than as I thought it was. It didn't really stand out to me either. I'm just gonna shortly tell you guys what I think. It's quite the same as Ascendance has already said. Kind of a one-trick map sometimes. Had some stacked notes, but it just didn't quite get me interested through the entirety of playing this map. So it didn't really feel something extraordinary again, due to its lack of original use of different kind of patterns and these stack notes coming back and back again every single time. Just didn't really fit me too well with this map. So like one of the previous entries, a little bit too plain for this Aspire in my opinion. But again, a pretty good map as well. It has structure. Flow is good as well, so playing it isn't really that bad. Actually, it's actually quite fun. But for Aspire, not too ideal. Sorry for interrupting you, by the way, no, Kashi, go ahead.
Well, for me, it had like a really nice balance of playability, and the Aspire gimmicks sure didn't have as many gimmicks as I would have hoped for, but as well as some 2 entries back, the gimmicks it actually introduced did it in such a fun way. I really enjoyed playing through this entry. I really think it hit the balance of what it brought to the table. Like, I'm not gonna say that it had all the gimmicks it could have had, but the ones it did have and introduced, they were really enjoyable to play through for me.
Yeah, I also thought it was really fun too. Like, while it's not doing anything that breaks the game at all, I still considered it one of the most fun entries to actually play through.
Yeah, I think you guys starting off have been a bit too hard on this. I mean, sure, it didn't do anything kind of ultra insane, but it had cool use of double notes. It had sliders and streams mapped inside spinners. It had nice SV and hyper slider stuff.
And it was definitely ranking the ranking criteria.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun, and the stuff that it brought to the table was executed really nicely.
Well, yeah, what I was saying is that kind of like it used what it had very well, but it like, man, I don't know how to put this. It felt like something that you could rank if you just removed all the 2B. Like, it was a great map. Yeah, it's like half the map.
Yeah, if you exclude all the unrankable elements and keep it as it is, it would
be perfectly rankable.
Oh my god! Rankable, yeah.
A revelation.
You guys
Yeah. Oh my god!
My god! Oh,
It was,
shit.
I think you took it as both me and Sartin saw it as negative. I thought, from what he said and what I said, I thought we both said that it was a pretty good map, like a good entry.
Yeah, perhaps I should have expressed myself a little bit better on this one. Again, it's not a bad map, just a little bit plain in my opinion, compared relative to the other entries, right? So that's what I'm trying to get at with my judgment on this map. I would recommend the mapper to perhaps look into other patterns that other people use throughout this contest and maybe get some ideas from that. Because his mapping isn't bad, like his mapping is really good, flows really good, and it's actually an enjoyable map to play as well. So if you were to grab a few other things from the other maps as well, and then make a little bit of a mix between what you already have, so the stacking nodes, the structure, which is both really good in this map, and you add those things, you would have a very good entry in your hands, and that would definitely get a lot of kudos from us as well. So in that regard, very good shots, not quite ideal, but a good map nonetheless. So that is not true me saying it's a bad map. It's not a bad map. It's a pretty darn good map. So good job to the mapper. For next time, that is pretty much the advice I would give, and I think Ascendance would also join with that comment as well, I'm guessing.
Yep, pretty much what he said. I share the same sentiment. It was a good entry, but it didn't go over the top that I was looking for.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna fully agree with you guys. I partially agree, but yeah, I was a bit more lenient, I suppose, and I found the enjoyment factor. I valued it more, probably.
Understandable.
Yeah.
From a play perspective, it's good. Like, you will enjoy playing this map for the first few times, definitely. So I agree with you on that.
Split panel for once, boys.
It just didn't get mental enough for you guys.
MC mental, that is fine.
MC Mentor would be great for a spy, honestly. Think about it. The opportunity. Maybe this year I'm gonna beg for that side. But yeah, I think we can move on to the next map. I don't think anyone has something about the map.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
And that would be, the next one would be Superior Fox, I believe. And now this one lived up to its name, if I recall correctly.
Yes,
Yes.
this
Yes.
map was
It was
fantastic.
the superior entry. I've been waiting to say that about 4 months.
This map was actually Craigasm.
Alrighty then, let's move on to it. You all ready?
Yeah, we shouldn't keep the viewers waiting.
Yep, let's not keep them waiting. That's good.
Alright, moving on to Superior Fox in 3, 2, 1.
So yeah, I think this is the map that all of you guys were fairly unanimous in singing its praises, right?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I think everybody wants to start, but I'm just gonna be egoistical and be the one to start. Anyway.
Do it. Do it. Don't
Yeah,
look back.
lovely map, honestly. This one was really good. Exactly what I want Aspire to be. Lots of variety in patterns. Very interesting things that, you know, the small things make this map interesting too, like the spinners being used throughout the notes as well. That is really
I love
fun.
those.
It's
Those are
not
great.
overused. Yeah, those are really fun, and they don't actually crash your PC as well, so props to the mapper.
Hooray!
Ephemeral
Yay!
gives you bonus points in that regard, and that
Ephemeral
is
is
good.
pleased.
Yeah. But yeah, very good use of the slider droplets as well. That was really fun to play, and it's like, it takes you a little while to figure it out the first time. Like, you see that pattern, and it's like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And it's, oh, it's in that rhythm. So, that was really good. That was interesting. Very impressive submission in my book. The only thing I could perhaps recommend changing, which I at least wrote down, is that the spinners towards the end didn't quite keep up the hype of the map that was built like at the start. But again, this entry is really, really good, and I don't think anybody is gonna hate on this one from the panel. So yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
don't hate it, but my only complaint about it is that the only gimmick it really uses is just overlapping sliders. And I wish it had done just a little bit more than that, but it was still a really fun map to me.
The big thing for me was that, like Sartin said, apart from maybe one or two things, it felt like this wasn't an entry that could be like improved in any notable way. Like when I saw this entry, it reminded me of seeing Deef's Aspire entry for my contest for the first time. It feels like something that is Aspire, and while it's not the most outlandishly creative map, it was very consistent in the gimmicks that it used, while not being overly repetitive, while still being playable and having really great replay value. And to me, that's what this contest was all about.
Yeah, generally, I agree with what you all guys said. It's also, to me, it was the most favorite entry, and the hyper droplets, the way they used them, she, I don't know who mapped this. The way they were used, they were so nice to play through. The whole map was a joy to play through. I would play it again any day.
Yeah, that as well. From player perspective, this is really fun to play. I'm not quite sure if anybody mentioned that already, but this one, I actually played quite a few times myself as well, just for the fun of it, right? And that is a very good sign, because Aspire is also meant to be really fun for the player, whilst also having those cool gimmicks. And this map was the most interesting in that regard too, so I think I played this one the most out of all the entries in the Aspire contest this year. So good job on that, really good job.
I thought one of the most interesting aspects of this entry that we didn't see a lot in any of the other entries was how the mapper utilized like the juice drops, the big droplets in between sliders, where you would have to work out, which droplets should I sacrifice to keep combo, and which spinners like bananas should I sacrifice to keep combo. So it was kind of multi-layered in a way, in that there were lots of things going on top of each other, but it wasn't done in an unfair way. You could still kind of read what the mapper intended, and infer like, oh, this is the correct way to go through this. And it was really cool figuring out like, that's how I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah, it was challenging in not a way that was frustrating, and that's what I really liked about it.
I kind of got that impression from the replay as well. You can kind of... I don't really know how I know this, but it seems like AFB had fun playing it, which I'm not sure he did for the others.
I mean, he only had 25 misses at that as well, so it was playable in that regard. Not a seeable, obviously, but that is not the intention. But as I already said, from a player perspective, this is really fun to play. So I don't think Alien Flybot found this to be a chore to play. I rather think he found this to be something really fun to do. Unlike perhaps some of the other maps, like the AI-10 one we had at the very start, you know, that is a little bit of a pain to just do, just because it's so impossible. But this one is challenging in a fun way, as JBH already said, and in that regard, it really succeeded for me as an Aspire entry.
Definitely seemed like it to me. A completely uneducated perspective, just watching that when I was recording, and I'm like, damn, this is... Why don't we get more of this? I wanted to see more things like this. It's great stuff that really lived up to its name, I think. One of those happy little coincidences with name gen.
It's rigged.
Rigged.
Oh, whoa.
Oh shit, conspiracy!
Rigged. Script. The streams of VOD.
Wait, were we not supposed to tell them that? Oops.
Oops.
Yikes.
Oh, it's too
We
late.
practiced this sentence. We
It's
practiced
too late.
this.
We had a script.
Might as well end the stream now.
Wait, the script ended. I thought we were just freehanding this, guys.
Get the fire alarm.
Dude, the fire alarm's going off in my house. I'm dying for Aspire.
Doing work.
This is how interested this man is in mapping. Give him a little bit of
Finally doing
little bit
something
of
for the community.
whoa, hey, hello. Nah, Ascendant's
Wait,
a
was he
good
being
guy,
toxic?
He was being toxic. That was unbelievable. But yeah, Ascendant is really into mapping. He's gonna die just for this contest. So yeah, props to him. Big round of applause. I'm guessing the entirety of Twitch chat is applauding right now. Otherwise, I'm gonna be
Thank
really
you, guys.
sad.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that is all we have to say about this map. I think
Yeah,
we
we'll
can move on.
continue on.
We can move on, yes.
Alright, the next one up is Tenacious Bobolig. I have no idea if that's how you say it, but that's what's up. Everyone ready?
We actually
Yes.
thought of the names before we go on. Was that you, JBH? No way.
I
right?
think Nekodex did the random name generator. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, he has a
Oh,
name
you're
gen, yeah. Just spits out a whole bunch.
Okay. Makes sense.
Totally random. Not even, they don't get picked or anything. Anyway, you all ready?
Yeah, you've played my maps. You know what my creativity's like.
0.
Yes. We're ready.
Alright. We're moving on to Tenacious Bobolink in 3, 2, 1.
This map makes me so. It gets me so sad. It's not because this map is bad or anything. It's because that if it continued what it did for the first half, on the second half, it would be an anonymous winner. And the fact that it didn't do that gets me like really sad, really not disappointed, but like this could have made it. This had potential, but it blew it.
Yeah, pretty much. The ending was just like, why?
I mean, if you don't believe us, you're gonna see the ending in about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. That it's nothing like the first half. Like just,
It kind of
after
gets
the
like
episode,
that
we just
before the
compare.
ending.
The first 30% is like beautiful. This map, it's absolutely
Look
amazing.
at that! Look at that!
Yeah, the
Yeah,
patterns were
starts
done
out
really well.
Such a good Aspire entry, and then as it keeps progressing, you just kind of lose all hope.
Yeah, that was very sad. Like, it becomes a kind of a clown fiesta towards the end. This map is actually 23 stars. That's the entire thing I'm trying to say, right?
Holy shit,
obviously-
23?
Yeah, look at
It's
that! Look at
23
that.
stars. You don't even know. It probably
Dog
crashed
the
your CPU. Yeah. But yeah, the thing is, it had to draw it from some type of pattern, right? Or somewhere. And we didn't quite see it at the very start. So we were already kind of frightful. Like, what does the end have in store for us? And honestly, it's quite messy, to be fair. It's
big
very
now.
different from the first part. But yeah, first part was really good. If that were to be continued, that would definitely have been a really good entry. But the second part needs a lot of fixing. I think the map have pushed the entire Aspire aesthetic a little bit too far in this one.
A little bit. Little
just a little. You can see AFB kind of gives up. At some point, he just goes.
By the way, before we go on, the spinners here.
Yeah, this is really
Yeah,
cute.
these are good. I like these.
Good job on
Yeah,
that.
this was just so sad to see for me because I
And
saw the
then
first
this.
like half of the map as everyone was suggesting, and then I just thought, no, why? The trick with the spinners in time to the beat here towards the end is really cool. This could have done with some notes in between to break that up because it does get a bit obnoxious towards the end, but I don't know whether the map had run out of ideas or run out of time or
I
just
have-
thought, sod it, I don't want to do this anymore, but yeah.
I had the thought that he tried to implement the idea of the droplet curtain, the idea that the first entry successfully made, but kinda didn't work in the end. Like for example here, just one slider, and that's until the end of the map.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
one slider all the way. Maybe he failed to create the pattern he wanted to, and then he was like, they were like, oh, okay.
You see AFB wiggle there. He's like, what? Why is this still happening?
Over?
Kind
Yeah.
of wants to die towards the end. Too bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I want to say they gave up. I don't want to think that they gave up. But if they just kept the same pace they did for the first 40 seconds, it would have been the winner to me at least.
I think it was a strong contender. It did lots of interesting things. It did them in a nice way. It introduced them kind of one at a time, and they were introduced fairly. They were
it got
executed
even more
well, and
interesting.
then they just threw everything they'd done up to that point in one big pot, and just did that for the rest of the map, and thought, if it sticks, it's good. But it really didn't stick.
So again, for the map, just take the inspiration from the first 30% of the map and maybe go and check the other Aspire entries as well, because there's lots of potential to be drawn here, but sadly it didn't quite play out in the end. It was just not fun to experience for any of us. So yeah, I think we all agree on that.
Yikes.
I
Scathing.
like that first 30%. Yep.
But a disappointing scathing in that the first half was apparently quite good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
I think Twitch is gonna agree with that. I think.
Yeah, I had it rated pretty high on the creativity side simply because the first part was so good, even though the second part of it still existed. So imagine what I'm pretty sure me and all the other judges would have scored it if it had kept that same quality the whole way through. I think that was the biggest disappointment to us as a panel.
Yeah, it could have been a winner in that regard.
Yeah, this could have been a winner.
if you are the mapper of this difficulty, then maybe silently kick yourself a little bit and continue. Do the same thing next year, but
Yeah, don't throw the towel.
just finish the map, finish the difficulty.
So big props to you for that first half. Like it was really cool. But yeah, you can do it. Trust us, you can do it. It's gonna be all right. But I guess
stuff.
we can move on.
Yeah, alright. We're getting close to the end now. We've only got 3 more left after this. The next one up is Truthful Waxwing. Judges ready?
What is a wax wing?
Storyboard, boys.
Oh, the only one in the whole contest. And only for a little bit too. Alright. All ready to move on?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, moving on in 3, 2, 1.
We're gonna start.
I love
well,
the opening storyboard for this. I wish they'd continued something on with the storyboard later into the difficulty.
Yeah, me too.
The first time I saw that, I totally lost it. It's really funny.
It's
Yeah.
really cute.
The skin was really nice as well. Although
Yeah, I
the
like the
circles with the
rifle.
square droplets triggered my OCD a little, but it was really cool to see the efforts one put in.
The fun part is that you can't really see what's the hyper. So that makes it equally funny in a sense.
Yeah, the red on pink is a bit obnoxious to read
I
with.
think- I think that was the gimmick though. But the storyboard is like,
yeah,
I think all the hyperdash on the right or something, or they were at the start and then he kind of gives up with it halfway through.
It is a really interesting entry at that. Like it's definitely in the Aspire shelf. Like it's there. Not the best one, but it's definitely there. The structure is there. The flow is there. The ideas are nicely presented in an extent. To an extent.
Yeah, it has more variety than some of the other picks we saw, but again, not in a punishing way, as in being unplayable. Had some really interesting pyramid type of patterns as well. The double notes was used very good. Here you can see a very interesting slider as well. I think that the variety was on point on this map, and it wasn't a bad entry either. Like, I really enjoyed playing this one. Some patterns are a little bit harder than the others, and I'm not really a big fan of hyperwalking quite, but again, solid entry. And I think that the mapper, I mean, I really appreciate the fact that the mapper also put up the skin and the storyboard. He like put in a lot of effort next to just mapping the song. So in that regard, it gets bonus points for me as well.
Extra
So-
kudos for the rice bowl.
Exactly, Rice Ball is amazing.
yeah, that was really cute.
But yeah, all in all, the package is pretty cool. It's not quite as great as some of the other entries, just because the patterns sometimes aren't quite fleshed out, or at least that's how I feel about it. But again, very commendable entry. One of my favorites as well.
Yeah, it did a
Yeah.
lot of really cool stuff. I just kind of personally felt like a lot of the gimmicks, they seemed a little bit unplanned and like randomly placed here and there.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Zach. Also, the 1/12 section here at the end was just like really random to me because it was never introduced earlier, and introducing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
gimmick
gonna
near
be
the
there.
end.
That's Aspire, baby.
Well, I mean, I would have liked it. I mean, the entry was good overall, but some patterns got me thinking, and the nice CWC warm-up ending
The arrow
where
storyboard
where
was
all
so
the stack
nice.
is on one side of it, and then the other team fails. Yeah,
That
it was
ending
a
kinda
cool
felt
entry though.
unnecessary.
That arrow gives like an entire extra point to this map as well. The arrow is amazing. No, again,
Not a
cool
troll.
integration of the storyboard. Really cool.
I wish we saw more of that, honestly. Just in general.
Yeah,
Like,
I do wish we did more kind of storyboarding stuff. I guess I don't see a lot of ranked mapping that involves storyboards, at least not by people who map catch kind of natively. Some maps will have storyboards from kind of other community members. I think Ascendance, you've got quite a few maps with some storyboards on and stuff as well.
Yes.
And I've done some very kind of basic, you know, like background fading and lyrics and stuff, but I don't really know of anyone who I would kind of term a pro storyboarder who's also kind of heavily involved in catch, unfortunately. So that is a bit of a shame, but I got to give props to this one for making the extra effort. As the others have said, it did have a lot of cool patterns, gimmicks, the kind of the slider walking, the hyper sliders, the fruit kind of curtains on the slide of the streams, where there would be like one stream and then another one slightly wider than it to give it like a kind of like a 3D effect almost. That was really cool and something that I've wanted to see in Aspire for a while. But yeah, towards the end, it did feel like some patterns were kind of a bit haphazardly thrown in. Again, it didn't get as bad towards the end as the previous difficulty that we just saw. This one was pretty consistently good throughout, but it did start to get a bit more wacky towards the end and not necessarily in a good way.
But overall, it wasn't really a bad entry. It's one of the better ones, in my eyes at least.
That's a pretty constant theme with Aspire maps in general, though. They tend to call it, I've called it like exhaustion. They tend to exhaust things as they run out towards the end. It's happened in every Aspire. I don't think I've seen, even the winning entries are subject to this to some degree. Like, the mappers kind of just run out of stuff to try, and they just either resort to stuff they've already used, or they just throw in random ass new shit. It doesn't really work.
Well, the main thing about Aspire is the element that surprises the judges. And with every year that's going through, it's going to be harder for the mappers to surprise the judges.
Yeah,
For
that's
example, if they do the same thing twice in a row, it's not gonna get as many points as they did the first time because it was more expected and less surprising.
Yeah, entering becomes harder by the year. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of the standard Aspire, where people were doing things Monstrata did the year previously with the new song, and the judges were like, "Oh, hey, we've seen that before."
weak.
And yeah, exactly. So it's like if you compare Charles Aspire to Probox Ghost Slider Aspire, it's just gonna get, the gap just gets bigger each year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
next
looking
year,
at-
I don't know what's gonna happen next year, at least the standard and catch, since it's more limited this year.
But even kind of looking at the community Aspire that obviously you hosted, Ascendance, the stuff that was done here, you can see that it's built on some of the stuff that was done in that contest. There are things that I've seen here that I've thought, oh, we've never seen that before. It's not like, oh yeah, we saw that in the community kind of contest before, and even Dave's entry that won was kind of comparatively tame compared to some of the entries that we've seen here. So I think that's progressing. That's good, progressing into the future.
Right?
Everyone's
Yeah.
got to start somewhere, and we are a small game mode, and we are at the start. So
Yeah, I'm actually pretty glad that my contest kickstarted some sort of Aspire ideas, and I actually saw some of them here. I wish someone did something like Ken's entry with the hit sounds. That was really cool.
that was hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, these entries have been awesome so far. I think we only have like 1 or 2 more of them.
We've got 2 more left here.
Yeah.
Next
go
up
through
is
them.
yeah, absolutely. Next up is Vigorous Turtle. Judges, are you ready?
Yes.
Take
You
it
guys
away.
were really philosophical there for a minute, Jesus.
Sorry.
Well, that's good. That's
Big
good.
brain moments.
That's a
Alright,
go.
we'll move on in 3, 2, 1.
Vigorous.
I love the transition stand, by the way. Good job on that. But yeah,
Stop it, I blush.
Vigorous Turtle. Sorry? Oh, poor man. No, I love you. Good job on that. I mean, you deserve stuff as well. You deserve to have good comments on your list as well. But anyway, this map is actually really good. Again, this was a very solid entry. Has a good and fun use of slide and spinner mechanics throughout the map as well. Like you can see here, is a pretty funny slider mechanic. We
Choose
don't-
your path.
Yeah, it's kind of like a maze in a way here and there, which is fun. Spin is being thrown into it, but not overkill, so that's good. What really stood out to me is actual proper hyperwalking on this map. Again, I repeat, I'm not a big fan of hyperwalking, but over here on this map, you'll see it soon, hyperwalking has been done really well. So good job
Yeah,
on
I
that.
agree on that. Generally, the whole flow of this map was well executed. Whatever it did nicely. Maybe at some point didn't push the boundaries, but the whole map was so structurally well made to me.
Yep.
Like, If it's not the first place for me, which is Superior Folks, it's the second for sure.
It was actually something that we talked about in the intermission between these two maps, but to me it felt like this entry was just stuff we've seen before mostly. So I didn't mark it the highest, but I think it was like a good entry overall. I just wish there would have been something, you know, more out there for us to be like, oh hey, remember that entry? That was the one that did blah 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 or whatever it was, you know?
Yeah, it did some interesting stuff, but nothing really stood out as unique. And that is kind of what I just didn't really like about it too much.
Well, the thing is, it kind of depends on which entry you see. If you see like Superior Folks first and then Vigorous Turtle, it's gonna be different than seeing Vigorous Turtle and Superior Folks. Like,
Well, actually, what I mean it as in comparing it to maps I've seen even before Aspire. I've just seen a lot of the things it's done in maps before.
A little bit of a mixed opinion here then. But yeah, it really depends. Like, I enjoyed it personally, I guess, and the same maybe is not true for Ascendance and Zack. I mean, we all have different philosophies when judging these maps, but that's a good thing. It only shows that variety is even more appreciated than you think it actually is. So perhaps in that sense, the map could have varied on more interesting patterns here and there. But for what it did really well, in my opinion. Again, hyperwalking was not overkill over it. It kind of looks like that on stream, but honestly, it wasn't too overkill. It wasn't quite as you think it seems.
fun to play too.
Yeah, exactly. So in that regard, to me, it was a very entertaining entry for Nokasi seemingly as well. But again, we differ in philosophies slightly sometimes, so can't have it all.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the middle of both camps. I think this entry had a lot of things that it did that was interesting, like the kind of the plate walking, the hyper walking, as Sartan said, was quite cool. It got a little bit wacky towards the end, but I don't think it was too over the top. I really liked, as I said, as to one of the previous entries, I liked the kind of the droplet curtain and kind of choose your path through the kind of the overlapping sliders and stuff to try and ensure that you only catch the most important fruits. But towards the end, I think it got a little bit messy and was kind of thrown in a little bit randomly. So whilst I like the idea of putting it in, I think it could have been done in a much cleaner way, but still not kind of sanitizing it and making it like a bit of a boring Aspire entry.
Oh, here comes JBH with the cool vocabulary. Oh my God.
Boy.
He speaks like a normal person.
You should hear him like daily, like me, whenever you're talking to them and like you're commentating. This man has such a beautiful vocabulary. It's absolutely amazing. It's
Stop bullying, JB. Just stop the bullying.
But yeah.
Don't bully.
No bullying. I guess that's all that needs to be said about this
That
one.
was a compliment, though. That was a compliment, though. Please. But yeah, don't think I have anything else to say.
Me neither.
Alrighty then. I guess we'll move on to our last entry, the Zany Zebra. Is everyone ready?
The end.
Let's go.
The end.
See.
Alright. We're moving on in 3, 2, 1.
God, I can't get a load of this song. It's so playful.
I think Sartan would prefer to never hear it again in ephemeral
This.
name.
You haven't been through what we have.
I guess
Seen some things, man.
after the 150th time.
Only 150? Wow, lucky man.
Casual.
Like, the thing is, I first did the recordings, but then they actually were kind of ballsy and they tried to redo them, but then they failed, and then F had to do them. So we went through a lot of shit to just get these maps recorded. It was actually
Oh man, but we did it. You did
But
it.
anyway, this map. Go.
Yeah,
Yes.
and indeed. Very little standout aspects, in my opinion, honestly. Good playability, though, and it really fits with the music. Wasn't quite out of the box in that regard, but again, it did feel good to me. So that is a good sign when doing Aspire. A lot of like portrayed through theming right? It's kind of opinionated here and there. But the thing is, boredom kicked in quite fast while playing this because it didn't quite keep me too interested with these, for example, these icy dashes. Nothing out of the box once again. And it kind of feels, again, like one of those maps you could probably rank with a little bit of changing the patterns here and there. It doesn't have anything where you go like, wow, what was that about? I want to check that again. So, due to that, not the most impressive entry in my book. But again, it's not a strictly bad entry either. Some interesting parts were there, like the stacking of those. And again, it really fits into the music. So.
Yeah.
For me, the Rancors had the same problem as the Rancor's Crocodile, if you would call it a problem. In its own, it's a nice piece of a map, but for Aspire, it doesn't quite cut it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we said on one of the other ones, it was just like if you just put it in a normal mapping contest, you'd probably get a higher score than you would on an Aspire. Because for this entry, while it was a pretty good map, besides like some edge dashes and weird flow, it was just like there was nothing Aspire about it to me. It was just a plain map.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. It doesn't do anything unique or game breaking at all, and all I could really think about it was it just feels like a hard map.
Yeah, if this was kind of billed as a map going for rank, I'd be thinking, well, this does some weird things that I haven't seen in ranked maps very often. But as far as Aspire is concerned, and some of the entries we've seen previous to this, it wasn't anything special. It was fun to play. But as Sartan said, it didn't really do that much different, and it got boring kind of fast.
Yeah, it's really hard when you're like trying to compare such maps, and you have to, you know, get them comparatively in relativity as well. Like would have been a good entry if the other entries obviously weren't that good. But since we had like these few entries that were really intriguing and had some stuff that made you want to replay this map, that really hits this map and hurts it a lot. Even though the structure again wasn't bad, and it considerably isn't even too bad of an entry, it just didn't stand out of the crowd, and that is really bad for its scoring for us at least. So in that regard, sadly, it didn't quite catch us and really grab us by the throat like, hey, this is a really cool map. So yeah.
Yeah, really agree with you there.
But yeah, it's pretty hard when doing Catch Aspire, obviously. Like, it's one of the hardest Aspires, really, when you think about it, because of the mapping. Sorry?
It's too confined, in my opinion. Hopefully with the new editor, there'll be more, but at the same time, you know, you expect in the new editor there'll be less things to break. Like, the big thing about Aspire is
breaking things.
Breaking the bad editor.
Well, but the thing is, perhaps, like, since it's really new, maybe there will be some things that, you know, kind of fly under the radar you could abuse in an Aspire, so perhaps it could be more interesting. But that doesn't mean that Aspire is, like, bad because of the editor. Like, there were still a lot of very interesting entries in this Aspire as well. So that means you can have a really good Aspire when you have enough experience as well as motivation to put into this contest. So again, it's kind of tough in that regard, but it succeeded in some maps. It didn't quite succeed in others, but again, hopefully all of these maps will have another shot at it this year with the Aspire, with the criticism coming from us, and we'll definitely get to see a lot more cool and interesting stuff, which will hopefully kind of break our faces instead of just kind of leave us unsatisfied with the entire, you know, it didn't really have anything that caught me specifically, type of feeling that we are currently experiencing with some of the maps. And that is not to be mean to the mappers by any means, it's just, you know, advice on what to perhaps improve next time.
Yeah,
See, I'm in a slightly different camp to you guys in that maybe the fact that the editor is a bit restrictive doesn't allow you to do too much, but I think some serious unfortunately to say this, some serious kudos has to be given to whoever designed Catch, because it's been proven it's really difficult to break. I mean, you put things off screen and it just goes, nope, I'm just going to put them on the border. You try and increase the SV to ludicrous levels and it just goes, okay, I'm just going to remove all droplets, and there won't even be a problem to you anymore. So, some of the stuff that has been managed to be broken in Standard and Taiko earlier in the year, we just, either it's not possible or we just haven't discovered that yet. But the whole if you're going to discover things, it's going to be through promoting events like this. So
I want to thank them for attempting to. That is really nice.
Like, I think we've been a bit harsh in this kind of final thoughts here that, oh, we were really disappointed and there were no good maps. There were some really interesting maps, and I hope that people can see that and appreciate that. That whilst all the 10 entries as a whole, some of them were better than others, some of the 10 were really good, and I was really impressed by some of the gimmicks and tricks that they brought out. And I hope that other people see those things and think the same. They think, wow, that was cool, I'm going to vote for that. And those things get promoted, then other people do them better or find new things in the future, because that's how these things get grown. When Ephemeral was talking earlier about obviously Charles' Aspire, if you look back at that now, the first one, it was very tame because people hadn't done anything like it before. So no one had, either by pulling the editor apart or by complete accident, no one had found any of the things that are in the current Aspires now. So with more contests and more exposure, it becomes more likely to find these interesting things for the future. So I hope that this does get promoted and we see stuff later on. But to do that, people have to go and vote now. So
Vote!
if you were excited and
Go vote!
go and vote. And
The plug. No, I was just about to say that, I mean, personally I've been mapping for 2.5 years. JBH and even Zach have been both mapping longer than me. And for me personally, I don't know about them, but I've never seen some of the gimmicks that have been pulled off in some of these entries. So it's not like this was a disappointment. Like, it was actually a lot closer than I thought. There was a lot of entries where I was like, oh my god, this could like actually win. And I think that because it was such a close race for, I'm pretty sure most of us, we discovered that these were a lot closer than we thought. I think that this will actually promote even further the Aspire scene in the future.
Yeah, keep on doing what you love, mappers. It was a pleasure to play all these maps again. Sorry if we were mean to any of you. That was not intentional. We really appreciate all the input. We hope to see even more interesting stuff next year. Well, this year, actually, as a matter of fact, because Ephemerals are kind of a little bit slow, but, I mean... right?
he did work. Give him his credit.
Yeah, Ephemeral did good work as well.
it's...
Thanks you for hosting this as well, Ephemeral.
Definitely
Definitely enjoyable. A
I'll
little bit of
stop it.
love from us as well.
I'll blush.
A love from our small game mode, giving us a chance to...
I think you're bigger than
Game
Taiko.
mode?
I'm pretty sure you're bigger than Taiko.
Wait, what's Taiko?
I
I think in terms of overall player distribution, yeah, Catch is the largest one after main. Taiko is like itty bitty.
People actually play Taiko? This is new.
I knew this would happen.
Ascendance, you've gone so far.
You did so good.
No,
Cut the stream!
Go, do it!
no.
Ah, we're about done anyway.
You tweeted something before. You tweeted
almost
something
made it.
before we
Almost.
started.
Almost. It was almost
I'm
perfect.
putting on the Deathnet OST. If you
I've
continue.
never tweeted anything in my life.
Oh my god. Alright, well, I guess we'll wrap this up here. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed these, only 10 entries, sadly. Normally we do 12, but there was a very much a sparsity in the number of entries we got, which is to be expected, really, with all the trouble that Catch has with its editor, for the most part, being unwieldy as it is. But, yeah, we hope you enjoyed the entries. Remember to go vote. The voting will be open for about 18 days. The way the scoring works is that the total public voting is equivalent to the judge voting overall, so they're both weighted equally, so you have a very good chance of determining who wins this contest by your votes, so make sure you go and spend them. You've only got 2 of them, and some people are saying there's only 2 good maps, so I don't know, you do that with your votes.
Well,
You decide.
Only we said that there's only 2 good multiplayer odds. Doesn't mean the others have different opinions.
Yeah, it's
We'll
all
see how this
subjective,
goes.
so it
Yeah.
could go anywhere. And to be fair, it's pretty close here and there in our scoring on the map. So there's a lot that could still be shifted and altered with your votes. So go ahead and do that right now.
Yeah, exactly. The votes were actually pretty close between us, so
They are, yeah.
actually shift a lot of things.
Yep, they're very, very close.
I hope we kept you good company, and I hope you enjoyed the whole Aspire showcase.
Aspire
I think it was a-
2017,
It was a
4 months
first.
late.
Yeah, it was a first for me, and
Don't rub it in.
I was so stressed when we started the stream. Now I'm way more relaxed, and it was a really nice experience.
That's
for me.
typical Aspire. It's always really nerve-wracking the first 10 minutes, and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna talk shop with a bunch of skilled people about these maps that I judged. It's pretty casual,
And
honestly.
then you don't get lynched, and it's like, oh, okay, this is actually alright.
Yeah.
Hey, no one's gotten lynched yet, but the night's not over.
The streams are over.
With that though, we probably should end. We've been going for nearly now 40 now, which
1.5
is
hours.
yeah,
Yeah.
quite long for this actually, considering we already got 10 entries. I think Tycho only went for an hour 20. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you go vote, and we'll catch you on the flip side, or on the fruit side, as it were.
That was
That was even worse than a
Just
GBI.
say
Come
goodbye.
on.
Just say goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye,
Alrighty.
everyone.
See you guys. Have a good
See ya.
evening. Have a good day
Break my
wherever you
maps.
live. Bye bye.
I like
Thanks
fruit
everyone.
catch.
Bye.